Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Captain's Chat. My name is Joe Delagrave, and I'm one of the captains of USAWR. Today we have like our mafia boss, like the head honcho of like everything, Katie Baker, who is the associate director of Paralympic Sport Performance. And so we always get to see Katie at Colorado Springs when we go there, or the major sporting events like Parapans and Paralympics and things like that. So an amazing woman, and excited to be able to talk to her today. So let's bring her on. What's up, Katie? The mafia boss. Yeah,
Wow.
the really angry one. Yeah, right. Always
So angry. I
always
throw shit
oh
all the time.
always have a smile on your face for sure. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, no, it's definitely, I mean, I would say from the USOPC perspective, like things are starting, like competitions are starting to happen, and we're rolling into trials both on the
Yeah.
Olympic and Paralympic side. So that's definitely making us start to feel like even though we know it's not normal, but we're getting there. So that's been really good to have actual like sport conversations rather than
Yeah.
amending selection procedures and this and that. So yeah, things are rolling along.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a difference a year makes. My goodness. I can't believe it's almost been a year. 6 days leading up until like like March 15th, 2020 was when, and a few days before that was when kind of our world changed. We were at training camp in Birmingham and the NBA got shut down. You're like, what is going on? It's crazy. And so we were all together. Where were you when kind of the world canceled everything, at least in our country? What was
Yeah.
what was that like for you?
Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, it's like a day we'll all remember, right?
Yeah.
I had just gotten back from a Paralympic archery camp out in Salt Lake City and was definitely like, this is just weird. But again, we had athletes training out there, and um, but I had gotten back to Colorado Springs, and my mom was actually visiting from Virginia, and work was like, okay, we're working remotely this week,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, that's kind of good. I could spend some time with my mom,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but then yeah, I mean, just again into the news and watching the news and the reports coming through, and then the conversation with my mom, like, do you feel comfortable flying back on the plane? And she ended up leaving 18th maybe. So it was just very surreal at the time. And yeah, questions flooding in from like the work perspective of like, okay, what's going to happen with the games? Um, so yeah, but yeah, you'll always remember, yeah, a year ago. I mean, crazy, and crazy that it's been 12 months already.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. No kidding. It was interesting. Kind of like, where were you when the clock stopped was a title of an article that came out in the New York Times, and Chuck Aoki was in it, and just reading that, and it's just such a surreal thing to even like think back about, now that everything's kind of opening, and like you all from youth sports and professional sports, and then of course with the train rolling on Olympics and Paralympics, it's exciting again. I feel like it's like,
Definitely.
yeah, exciting, and vaccinations are rolling out, and hopefully we can get this thing moving and grooving. So, um, what did you have any crazy like quarantine goals pop up? I always ask people this because I feel like people like, hey, I knitted sweater. Like, I've never knit before. I'm an artist now, or like a
Oh
complete
man.
like. What did you do? What was your big thing you did?
Oh man. I bought a new mountain bike right at the beginning. Like, hey, if the economy's going to shut down, I might as well contribute to it a little. And I feel like I rode my mountain bike a lot. Um, this room that I'm in was like a spare bedroom, if you will, guest room. And I just recently painted it, which I still need to paint the ceilings,
Is
but
Okay,
and
is it white, or is it a different
it's
color?
white. So it
Okay.
was like this, like kind of really light, like mustardy kind of gross. And
Yeah,
I've been
like
in this house 12 years and I'm like not a do-it-yourself type of gal.
sure. Okay.
Like it's fine the way it looks.
You
And
know
so
what? You know what? Well, maybe the cat urine will grow on me. Who knows? Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So little undertakings like that around the yard and some things like that. But nothing major that I can think of that I'm especially proud of.
Yeah. Man, yeah, I guess Mandy, you got your room got an upgrade for when you go visit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. What's up, Kat? Hope you're doing well.
Oh, hi,
Good to hear
Kat.
you popping on. Yeah. Good old Kat.
Yep.
Absolutely. What about like takeaways? Did you have any big takeaways from the whole deal, the whole ordeal? I feel like a lot of people too have gotten really philosophical throughout the whole thing. Of course, like obviously not by the election and stuff like that. That got a little heated.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what was your big takeaway from the last year?
Man, it's been a tough year. I mean, COVID and then everything, the social injustice that, is occurring or being finally recognized. I shouldn't say it's been occurring for a while, and that being recognized, and just with the elections and all the political things happening. So it was definitely a tough year. But I feel like hopefully we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
Um, But in terms of like COVID itself, I think, there's definitely some silver linings in being at home a lot. I mean, I'm used to, getting out and traveling a little bit, and I
Yeah.
definitely missed that. And
Yeah.
but in terms of silver linings, I like knowing my neighbors better, or even like knowing the people on my street and seeing them on their daily walks and knowing like, okay, people are getting outside probably a little bit more than they have in the past. And just, again, the friendly wave, like, how are you doing today? And,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but again, like the neighbors, definitely have gotten to know both neighbors on both sides a little bit more, which has been great. And I mean, I guess in general, like just more of a sense of community, whether it's
Yeah.
just my neighborhood or, where I live, Colorado Springs, and the community of people that I work with and people checking on one another. Because I live alone, and it was nice to have colleagues checking in and like, how are you doing, like
Yeah,
how's
that's
it
awesome.
going,
That's gotta be
so
huge. Yeah.
and then reciprocating that, knowing your colleagues that live alone, and checking up on them, and making sure they're taking care of themselves and not just like working all the time but getting out for fresh air and all of those things. So I think there's definitely some silver linings, and connecting with people more, I would say, is the big thing.
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh man, what is that? Is that on my end? I'm like hearing noises.
I heard something. It's definitely not my cat. It's the only thing I could attribute it to.
Oh, that's what it is. Hold on 1 second. I'm like, there we go.
I
Okay.
do know I do have a funny story. So
Yes, tell
obviously,
me.
so like I have a cat. I'm not quite a cat lady, but I do have a cat, Jaja. Everyone knows Jaja. So Jaja is a hunter. He is definitely likes to get out and hunt. And so
So
I
does he have
truly
front, does he have the front claws or all like
he
all of
goes
them?
in
All
and
right.
out. He's got his cat door.
Okay. He's like basically like a little baby lion, basically. I mean, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think I was on a call with like two of my colleagues, Justin Miller and Janine Gunn, and truly like on the virtual call, we're meeting, and like, oh, I'm like looking down. I was like, oh, oh, you have the bird in your mouth. And then I'm like, Jaja. And the bird, like, it's dropped in his mouth and starts, kid you not, flying around the room. I was like, I think we're gonna have to table this conversation, and I'm gonna need to call you guys back after I take care of this bird in my house.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So
Mandy's actually experienced it too when she's stayed at my house, like finding a bird in the basement, like, and me being a wimp, like, oh my God, I can't take care of it. And her, like, Mandy getting in there and taking care of it and getting the bird outside is like, Thank you.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, how he is Zaza he
He
or
is.
she? He.
I thought
Okay,
he
so
was
is
a
he
she, but then when I went to the vet said, actually, she's a he.
Oh, interesting. What is he nice to guests? Like, is he nice
Oh,
to your
yeah,
guests?
he's a
Yeah.
nice cat, real
Yeah.
sweet, but he likes to
Yeah.
catch birds and mice and little baby
Hunter.
bunny rabbits. I've had baby bunny rabbits in the house.
Oh man. Wait.
Yeah.
Wow. Uh, does he have his own Instagram? He needs his own Instagram, I
He
think.
used to be on an
Like
Instagram called
Cat's Gone
House
Wild.
Cats of Colorado Springs, but I think we've like disbanded that. I'm not sure, but I haven't contributed lately.
Yeah, yeah. They were
Once
missing you
upon a
over
time.
there. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Well, you asked about what my biggest takeaway. I mean, obviously being around family more, being around the kids in April more than usual because not traveling the last year for speaking or for rugby has kept me inside the own four walls, which it's a great. It was great for me to be home. It was after a couple months. I'm like I'm better husband and father when I get away for a second. And
At
April was
least you
like,
acknowledge
yes. And
that and
April's like,
recognize it.
exactly. April's like, yes, you are for sure. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, like it's just, what, throughout the entire last year and there's, a lot went on in our country. And it's just like, we just need to spread love and kindness. And I mean, goodness, like there's a guy, he's a globetrotter, a former globetrotter, that I met recently, and his thing is like everyone's a kindness millionaire, and I just love that. Like everyone has the capacity to be kind every day, except when we're playing Team Canada, of course, we won't be. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so I'm excited that you're here and we're getting to speak because like we don't I think a lot of people probably are like, what do you do and how does this work? And you're the behind the scenes wizard, and you do a lot of advocating for us, and you've been great for our program since I've been in. And like, how did you get into this whole USOPC world? Can you tell us a little bit of background on Katie Baker?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I in high school and college, I was on a pathway to become a journalist, a photojournalist, and
Okay.
pretty towards my senior year of college, like realized like, yeah, I'm not going to make it as a photojournalist. Just in terms of intrusion and the photos that are getting recognized are cameras in the face of people in like their purest moments of pain and suffering, and that's not me to jump in and try to capture that and just
Yeah.
the privacy. So I always loved sports, always played sports, and basically moved to Colorado Springs like, hey, I want to be out west somewhere, and
Oh wait,
moved out.
what sports did you play? We gotta figure this out real quick.
So I was more of like a team sport girl in middle
Okay.
school and
Okay.
in my freshman year of high school. And then, someone's like, you should start running. And so I started running cross country and
Okay.
fell in love with that. And then
Okay.
so it was really my two passions in high school were like running and swimming. And then in college, I did some rowing, was on the crew team, and also got into bike racing. I went to Indiana University, and there's a big bike race called the Little 500
Yeah.
that I participated in for 3 years. So again, just loved sports for so many
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah.
So moved to the
Same.
Springs, and yeah, I mean
Minus the running part. I did not fall in love with running in high school.
well,
Never
you were a
once.
football player, right?
I was the team sport guy, and like that was just yeah. Well, usually, and back then it was like that was our punishment for messing up was running. It was always it was like well. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Oh, no. I moved to the Springs and was just like, okay, I guess I'm gonna wait tables, and then I had reached out to like USA Cycling and USA
Okay.
Triathlon and some
Yeah.
other what we call national governing bodies. And 3 months later was working with USA Triathlon, worked with their national team for about 10, 11 years, got to go
So
to the
you just
Beijing.
You sent an email, did some old-fashioned networking.
Oh yeah. I mean,
That's
this was
what
like back in 99, Joe.
Yeah, you got on AOL, maybe some ICQ, is that back? Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, it was definitely dial up.
Dial
So
up that internet and yeah.
going to the library to like, hello, would you be interested in talking to
Yeah,
me?
that's so true. Yeah, I remember the days you go to the library to get on the internet, and there's
Oh
like
yeah,
8
exactly.
computers there. Yeah,
Yep.
awesome. So
Oh
you're
yeah.
and so you're working with them. You're
So I
working
worked
with
with
yeah,
triathlon for 10, 11 years, got to go to Beijing to the Olympics with the team and um, world championships every year and just had some amazing experiences with them, met some
yeah,
great people and, loved the sport. And then, moved over to the USOPC almost 10 years ago already and
okay,
started on what we call the sport performance side, which was focused on Olympic sport and did that for about 3 years. And then, um, I mean, when I say volunteer, I mean, Paralympics had said, like, hey, we're looking for some people to come support us at some events. And I was like, heck yeah, like anytime I can get out of the office, away from a
yeah,
computer,
yeah,
seeing athletes like competing, training, interact with athletes and coaches, like sign me up. That's my passion. And so got to go to I think it was Warrior Games. We were hosting it here in the Springs, and so I
yeah,
went and
yep,
helped
yep,
that. Yeah, I think it was like maybe 2014. So I went and helped
yeah,
there. I got to go to Sochi for Paralympics and support the village up at the mountain village. And then there's some other things that had come up that I had, hey, yeah, I'd be interested in helping out at these events. Um, and yeah, I was just kind of from there, it kind of snowballed and then, position that I'm currently in came open and I applied and yeah, moved over. And at the time, I think, for me, I thought like, okay, this is just like a job move. You know what I mean? Like it was,
right, right,
I was curious and interested, but it was also like, quite honestly, like, oh, it's an opportunity for me professionally. Made
yeah,
the move and man, thank goodness I did.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just been awesome.
yeah. I mean, yeah, Paralympians are awesome. Yeah, for sure.
You guys are.
Come on.
And you can ask anyone that knows me well. I'm not a brown noser and I'm not like
Yeah,
one to like blow smoke, but
yeah.
you guys are awesome for
We,
so
I mean,
many reasons.
we. I can only claim rugby, but we've got a great group of people for sure. Frenchie texts me. No, that's a zit on my neck, Frenchie. That's not a hickey, Frenchie.
Thanks,
It does,
Frenchie.
and it does kind of look like it too. I noticed it, and I'm like, oh, people are gonna say something, and of course, Frenchie will say what no one else will. That's Frenchie.
You need
Um,
people like that in your life.
it totally do, totally do. There's some things. Thank goodness is right. Yeah, absolutely, Mandy. Um, yeah, everyone needs a Frenchie to be able to laugh. That guy. Um, so with adaptive sports and being in adaptive sports and kind of seeing um how powerful they can be in a lot of different lanes, like a lot of like whether it's recreational or whether it's and people being able to see people like deal with their disability or however they acquired it is a beautiful thing. Like um what were initially maybe some of your um I don't know, preconceived notions or like just there's a lot of people too, like just ignorance, nothing in a bad way, in a bad way, but just like, no, I don't really know anything. And then you get in there and what were those for you? Or did
I
you have
would
any?
say the latter. Definitely a lot of ignorance and not knowing. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's still so much for me to learn. Um, in terms of like I came from like high performance, right? And so
Right.
moved in, and so I have this, base of knowledge in terms of high performance sport. But in terms of like some of the nuances of Paralympics, classification especially,
Yeah.
and I work across 13 sports, and still to this day, I mean, I could give you some like high level, like yeah, this sport, these are some of their classes, and
Yeah.
But knowing the ins and outs of that, I do not know. So still learning that. And I would say, yeah, I'm still ignorant. And I hope like people call me out, like if I ever make a comment or, do something that they're like, no, you don't.
Frenchie, make sure you get Katie's number so you can text Katie.
Next
Now,
time I'm at Lake Shore for sure.
yeah, get the Thunder Chicken and yeah. No, that's like classification is such a weird thing because when you talk to people that like have no idea what the Paralympics are, and then you talk about classification, like I've liked the tournaments that you go, especially for us that we play based off a point system. You can only have so many points in the court, and like the explanation of that, and then we've like in 2019 had him on our chairs at the Rugby World Challenge, and I thought that was really good for the viewer that doesn't know anything because they can go, oh, that's a 0.5 and that's a 0.5 and this guy's doing way better than this guy. It's like kind of like helps them realize who's good and who's not in a way compared to like, oh, that guy's really fast and that guy's really slow, but I have no idea what their function is. And it's always tough. I mean, I know like swimming is one of those things where it's like, we always joke at rugby, like we never know who's coming out of the locker room, and then like how's the classification work with this, and it can be confusing for sure. Really quickly,
Definitely.
before we jump into our next questions, though, it is game time here on the Captain's Chat, and we're just playing a simple game. No,
Water.
get your. Katie likes to say that if you have lemons, you make lemonade and add tequila. I think is your quote? Yeah.
Good job.
So that's what. Yeah. I did my research. Did my show research, kind of. All right, so we're gonna play a simple game of Would You Rather, but it's the travel edition. I feel like you're a traveler, like you like to travel. It seems like you like to be outdoors and travel. So it's the travel edition of Would You Rather. So here we go. Okay. Would you rather travel through time or travel through space? Travel through time or through space?
I think through time.
Yeah. I would agree. I mean, I've seen Interstellar, and I don't know if I can do any better job than that guy did. So I love that movie. But travel through time, where would you go in the future? Would you go back?
I think I'd go in the past or in the future, especially right now. I think about like, I mean, not to get all like philosophical and like, because I don't do that very often, but you think of the advances, or especially maybe as I get older, like I think of like we were talking about like internet and things like that and smartphones and like how much more advanced can we get? I mean, I know we can. So I mean, maybe understanding what that looks like because you rewind 200, 300 years ago and they're living at a time and they're like, dude, how much more advanced can we get? Like what else can we come up with? And we've got wheels and these whatever at that time we know how to create a fire, but I mean now we've got like even just the virtual thing and having conversations with people virtually and not the same as being face to face, but I mean, not too bad of a second, there. And so like fast forwarding, like what is it going to be? Yeah, what are the next advances going to be? And I'm not a creative person, so I can't think like, oh, well, of course this is going to happen.
Oh,
and
I'm
this
with
is
you.
going to,
Yeah.
like
I'm with you.
Like we're pretty advanced.
Yeah.
But we're probably not because we'll look back in 200 years and be like, those were the dark ages.
Now it's crazy too because technology is advanced, but then in a way, man's like become dumber. Like we rely on the technology so much more, and then
for sure.
But, would you rather travel to a new place or return to the same place annually? I feel like I know this answer already.
Well, it's funny you say that because one of my colleagues on the Olympic side, we went for a hike this morning and or maybe I forget who. Anyways, we had been to Nepal together about a year and a half
Okay.
ago, and someone had brought up like, would you go back to Nepal? And I was like, it was amazing, don't get me wrong, but there's so many other places that I'd like to get to. So
Yeah.
I think, going somewhere new. Um, and yeah, there's so many places that I'd like to visit and get to and experience cultures and whatnot.
Yeah. Would you rather travel for a week out of country or for a month in the country?
I would take either.
Yeah. I just feel like
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much of the US because I love traveling too. And it's like, and it's fun to say you've gone to, South America or Europe or Central, or like wherever you're going. But then there's so much beauty in the States
Oh, for
too
sure.
that like I haven't seen much of the Northeast, or traveling up the coast in California, that type of stuff. And then just like Utah and all their state parks that are beautiful. And so I don't know, it's just an interesting thing where there's so much beauty too in the
Or
States.
even up
But
by you. Like I'd love to explore like the boundary waters more
the
and things
boundary
like that.
waters, yeah, absolutely,
Those would be pretty
absolutely.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, especially in the summer. Especially in the summer. Let's see. Let's do a couple more here. Oh, there. Well, no, that's not a good one. We just talked about that. Here we go. If time weren't an issue, would you rather travel by boat, train, or plane?
Maybe train.
Train would be kind of cool. That's like a lost thing in the States,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
actually the last train I was on was with Mandy when we went to Machu Picchu after the site visit. You had to take the only way up to Machu Picchu was or Aguas Calientes was a train, and it's always fun to like look out the
yeah.
window and um just watch as things
Did
pass by. So
Yeah. Did you have to did shit, Mandy was saying you're an
she
awesome
was a good
traveler and traveler. I was just gonna say, did you have to have her stick her head out the window? She get a little too like anxious. I can't see Mandy just sitting in one place for very long. So it's one of those things like she gets a little excited. But can you tell us a Mandy story with you guys
Oh
traveling?
man. Well, it's funny. I mean, I'm really particular about who I will travel with.
Okay.
Um, I don't have a lot of patience, so I'm always nervous to travel with like colleagues or friends because you never
Yeah.
know. And we were only traveling 3 or 4 days, but it ended up being awesome. Like it was great, and she was easy. She wasn't high maintenance, and
Yeah.
um, but funny story. I mean, not really on her, but we got into Aguas Calientes really early in the morning at like 7 a.m. We're like, well, what are we gonna do? And we just like
Yeah.
plopped ourselves down and just started drinking Irish coffee. And then in the town itself, if you ever get there, it is there's all these dogs.
Okay.
And we just like observed these like dogs with like coats on. Like half the dogs had coats, the other half did not. And it was truly like we thought like just making jokes about like the town dogs and how there
Yeah.
was like two gangs, and it was like West Side Story but with dogs. And
That
so
that's
just drinking Irish coffee, and watching dogs, and it was pretty amusing.
That's awesome. That's a good story. That's a good story right there.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Let's move along. Let's move along to our next question. Um, so being in Mandy says she's dying right now. Yeah.
It was
Watching the West
funny.
Side Stories with dogs, and one of the sides of the story has coats. Everyone does. What are some of the toughest obstacles in the Paralympic movement that you've seen from your point of view since being in? And I know there's a lot of momentum built now with the Paralympic movement. It's amazing to see. NBC coming on with a lot of stuff that's coming up. Paralympics is going to be huge, I think, for the movement. But what do you think's been some of the toughest obstacles from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so many people who know better than I because they've lived it longer,
Yeah,
whether you as an athlete or, Mandy having been involved in adaptive sport and knowing the Paralympic world, or some of my colleagues at the USOPC who have been in,
yeah,
in
yeah,
Paralympics for a while. But I just think for me, I think it's general awareness and education. And, just, I mean, I think we all hear it, like people confuse Paralympics with Special Olympics and, not quite understanding. But I definitely, like you said, there's so much momentum, and it's so exciting to see that, things are happening. And like, I
Yeah.
feel like I've been able to see some things happen, especially the last like 3 years, whether it's the name change of our organization or, the equity with op gold payouts and other things. Like, it's just an awesome thing to see, and it's only going to build and continue. And I'm not, I sit on this, even though I just listen in, but on this Paralympic awareness group that meets, and just to hear like folks from LA 2028 and how engaged they are. And like in the
Yeah.
past, it might be people just kind of like, okay, I have to con for this meeting, but these people are so engaged and so like
Yeah.
excited about Paralympics that it's just really exciting. And yeah, can't wait to see what comes of it, especially as we move towards LA.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. And I think it's from my point of view, and being in the movement for over a decade now, you see like it's built, like it only keeps moving, built on the people that are in the movement and putting the time in. I think of um, a woman, Katie Holloway, put so much time into the AAC, but then like there's times where it's like, okay, I got to transition to something else in life, and then other people stepping up into that, I think, is important. Where hopefully, as athletes in the States, we're able to see that value of giving back and volunteering on committees and things like that. Chuck's another one that's done a fantastic job of that, and something that we try to preach at
Mhm.
USAWR is like we're only as good as like the stuff that we will, or the work that we'll put in to make the Paralympic movement better. But yeah, LA 28, man, oof, that'd be interesting to see. I think people are starting to see the value of the Paralympic athlete and the value of course, the human stories that come along with it, but like the education piece on these guys are putting in, these men and women are putting in work, and
Yeah.
just like any other athlete would. But yeah, love that. What's your favorite part of your job?
I mean, I like dealing with the coaches and high performance staffs and the athletes. Um, that was one thing when I left triathlon. I had like a direct line with those folks.
Yeah,
And it was like, I'm going to miss this because you're, a little bit removed from that. But being able to interact with athletes and just hear their stories and hear their challenges in terms of like, I mean, I think of Paralympic across all the sports, we have full-time jobs, we have families, we're getting paid like not at a high level to do this. This is blood, sweat, and tears, and the sacrifices we're making. And to be able to hear those stories, is always great for me, just to again understand.
yeah,
And then the interactions with the staff, and building the relationships with the staffs at the various sports is, for me, been really pretty awesome. And they know that they can, hopefully they trust me and know that they can reach out to me at any time, and I'll have their back. And I know they'll have my back.
yeah, yeah. That's huge. Relationship building. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome for us. I know as athletes, just when we're out at the Springs and you coming to more practices than you need to. It's awesome to be
Love
to
it.
see you there, and to see you building the relationships with our staff, and of course with Mandy and with us players. And just I think it means a lot knowing that someone's invested, or coming in on a Saturday or Sunday at a practice. And I mean, I don't know if we've ever have we gotten you in a chair? I think we have.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little timid.
Oh,
A little timid. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't
Uh
want to take away from your training time.
no, that'll be good I mean, that'll be well worth it. I think what we'll do is we'll do like a Frenchie versus Katie thing.
Oh my
We did a staff game. It was pretty funny. Frenchie went around kicking people. I'm like, you can't do that. You can't just go around kicking people on the court. It was hilarious. But yeah, Frenchie was he was balling out. Sue's super competitive, as
Oh,
you
I can see
know.
that.
Yeah, she was dominating. So Meg was pretty funny to see in a chair.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to see them play. Of course, Mandy was, going all out for sure.
Baller.
Yeah, she's a baller. Um, with all the different sports that you oversee, like which one's your favorite?
I hope no one's watching. I do love the team sports.
Yeah,
Um,
like rugby. You can say it.
yes, rugby
Yeah.
is definitely one of the team sports. um,
Man, come on, Mandy. Mandy will let us know. She'll let us know.
I do love all, like even
Yeah,
like a sport like archery, for instance. Like
yeah,
that's not, I come from endurance sport, and so learning about all the different sports, even bocce. I work with bocce a little bit, and
yeah,
we've had them. They've been out to Colorado Springs. I think it was the last camp was like 2 years ago, and playing a little bocce with them and learning about their sport. And I just, all the sports have, again, there's
yeah,
different nuances, and it's fun to learn about them and meet the athletes. And I feel like all sports, like it has its own, like, culture to
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So learning the culture and understanding that. I always have fun with wheelchair rugby. I will say that.
I mean, yeah, we're a fun group for sure.
You
Yeah,
are a fun group.
yeah, I hope so. And archery is awesome. I have a Paralympic archer that lives in the same town as me, or in
Leah?
the Leah. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Leah.
yeah,
She's
Leah's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's fantastic. So it's always fun getting to see her.
nice.
Um, do you think about legacy in a job like this? I know it's a,
For me,
yeah.
I probably should, right?
I don't think it's a
Um,
bad thing to think about. No, I don't know. Everyone has their own opinion. What's yours?
I guess I always associate, and it's probably, I should broaden my horizons, but think of legacy with, I like attach it to like public figures and athletes. And, um, but in terms of my own legacy in this position, you know, I don't, I always am going to try to do the right thing and
Yeah.
advocate on behalf of the sports. One thing that I know for me that's huge, and I'm a broken record when it comes to like expectations and setting them accordingly. And, having to have the talk with certain sports, like, I just don't see this happening. I want to be realistic. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want you to get your hopes
Yeah.
up. And, but in terms of like legacy, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, one thing I think about legacy though too is that with you guys, I mean, like what we were just saying about Paralympic sport and where it's going, and you guys are a part of that right now, and
Yeah.
you're forging forward and building a path for the next generation. And obviously, you guys are leaving your legacy, but is that hard knowing that, okay, knowing the next generation's probably going to have it a lot easier than you guys did?
Which is great. I mean, hopefully, and I think to a certain extent, yours a kind of like, it's like you're a senior in high school and they're building this brand new gymnasium or auditorium if you're in theater or like whatever. Like you're like, oh, this is awesome, but I really wish I had that.
True.
But I think if you've been in the program a long time or you've been in the movement a long time, you want it to leave it better than where you found it. Like I think most people would hopefully think like that. I know I do. Um, yeah, and I know like the guys before us did as well, where it's like we had, or some guys I've interviewed that played in the '90s, and it's like a pay to play type of deal, where it was like, they're on the other end of the spectrum. Yeah, so I think it's hopefully in that regard from my end anyway, just leaving it better than we found it, but and continuing to, I think you've seen it with a lot of women's sports on the able-bodied side where they said enough's enough and started, demanding some of it and the quality, and we're seeing a lot of that throughout Paralympic movement as well. So it's exciting. It's definitely exciting. Um,
It is exciting.
yeah, yeah, for sure. What is your favorite moment watching wheelchair rugby? You've gotten to watch some games. Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say it's a favorite moment, but Rio, the final.
You're gonna say
I
the
mean,
Rio,
that
yeah,
was
the Rio heartbreak. Yeah,
heartbreaking to
yeah,
watch, and just
yeah,
to know everyone put everything they had out on that court, and it went into a double overtime, and um, you feel that.
yeah. It's a very interesting dynamic. I was having this conversation with someone the other day, um, because Paralympics and Olympics, the way it goes with, working so hard for a quad, and you're basically in a way kind of graded on just one competition throughout that entire quad, and you get your point difference between being a gold medalist and a silver medalist. And it just goes to show you, like, obviously in a game, it's a finite thing. There's a scoreboard, and there's time, and there's a winner and a loser, and it is what it is. But I think success doesn't, like, it transcends that. It transcends the
Mhm.
scoreboard. Like, to say that Rio squad wasn't successful because there was one more point, and it's just one of those things where, yes, there's a winner and there's a loser, there's a gold, silver, bronze, and so on. Um, but I think sometimes we get too caught up on the medal,
Sure.
and not
Mhm.
and go, hey, where are we at with, like, building a culture, and where are we at with building the Paralympic movement, or maybe some guy's life was changed because he was on this team or something like that. So,
Or
or
someone
woman.
was in the stands watching
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever it may be. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
You alluded to Canada. It's always fun to watch you guys play Canada because it's so intense and
Yeah,
fun, and, um, the finals in, I guess you played Canada twice in Lima, and
we
I
did.
think it
Yeah,
was the finals of Lima, and it was fun because so many of our staff was there, and so many other athletes from other sports, other staff from other sports,
yeah,
just to see all the people there, like, cheering
yeah,
you guys on, and then to watch you kick ass was super fun.
yeah. That meant a lot to us, for sure.
That was awesome.
uh yeah, that everyone came over. Of course, we had a nice venue location in Lima.
It was
We really
definitely
did.
convenient.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
advantageous for sure. That
yeah.
was nice. But okay, so let's wrap up with a little rapid fire. You've done great. Katie was a little nervous at the beginning. I think she's done a great job. Yeah, and we're gonna do a little quick fire, rapid fire wrap up here with Katie Baker, the Associate Director of Paralympic Sport Performance. Say that 10 times in a row. Um, let's rock and roll with this. So, what is the best thing that happened to you this month?
Oh, man.
It's rapid fire.
I know. Getting to go skiing is always
Okay.
fun,
Yeah.
like, getting outside. Yeah.
What's your favorite board game?
Trivial Pursuit.
Oh, you go, okay. Old school on that. When are you most inspired?
Interacting with people, especially people I don't know, but meeting for a first time.
Good job not saying anything about your cat. That would have got weird. I'm most inspired when if you could teach one subject in school, what would it be?
History.
Oh, okay. History. I would have thought you would have said Fayette. You get, like, because it'd be fun to dress up as a Fayette teacher. You get the whistle, and you get the polo tucked into the swishy pants, and you know what I'm saying? Like, just rock it. What is your favorite kind of birthday cake? Do you get the same one every year? Do you do birthday cake?
I don't even remember what I did for my birthday this year.
Oh my
I
goodness.
know.
What's your favorite
Dang.
kind? What's your
It
favorite kind of cake?
I mean, it changes as I get older. Like, now I like carrot cake, which I always was like, "That's for old people."
We might need to have an intervention. Yeah. That carrot cake
Yeah.
reminds me of my grandma.
I bet Meg would appreciate carrot cake as my choice.
Do you think so? I'm gonna have to ask her about that. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Joe, man, that's a
Come
tough
on.
one.
All right.
Recently, well, I would say like within the past 5 years, going back to a high
Okay.
school reunion and running into a guy that lived down the street from me. And he shared a story. He remembered me riding the bus with him home in middle school, and he liked a friend of mine. And I told him, I guess I was direct, was like, well, she doesn't like you, but you're a very good person, and that doesn't mean that. I guess it was really nice how I laid it out. And
Yeah.
he brought that up just like 5 years ago. And I just was like, oh, that's kind of heartwarming that, you know, I I approach it in a kind way, I think.
That's nice. That's good. I like that. I like that. Um, yeah,
Oh,
Mandy, we definitely need if we can get Aoki. Butler's really smart too. We can get Butler in there. I'm very like I'm the niche guy. If we're doing Trivial Pursuit or bar trivia, like give me the sports. I got the sports for us.
well, let's back up. Just because I like to play it doesn't mean I'm good at it, right?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Last question here. What is something you will not be doing in 10 years?
Oh God.
If
Don't
this was my
know.
kids, they'd say I would make them say you're not going to eat your boogers anymore, kids. In 10 years, that's what I tell the kids.
Man, is it sad that I don't have an answer? Like
Maybe you're doing everything right. Yeah.
not weeding my yard. I don't know. Like someone will be helping me. I don't know.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Maybe I won't be picking like cleaning cat litter because my cat won't be around. Like, is that a little morbid? I don't know.
That's a little depressing. Poor Sasa.
I mean, but it's realistic, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're a realist. You're a realist. You're a realist. Well, I feel like we'll just end it there. We'll end it on talking about your
Hey,
cat.
I do want to give you guys a shout out. Some
Okay.
of the team sports, like they think I'm a broken record, are probably like, yeah, we're tired of hearing about wheelchair rugby. But just how you guys have approached things during COVID, it's been really like you guys are the gold star in terms of the captains, like taking on what they've taken on and just the communication with your teammates and the staff, everything that they've taken on additional. And having your first camp, like long-term camp a couple weeks ago. I just hats off to you guys. I mean, that's been a true team effort that you guys, it's happened because of the captains, the staff, and all the players coming together. And that doesn't happen if you don't have the right people in those positions. So
Yeah. I
hats off.
really appreciate that. And I think it's a testament to putting in a lot of work from everyone. Obviously with, our leader Mandy and down. With putting in the work on building that foundation for sure. So you're gonna bird watch in 10 years? You gonna be bird watching?
Oh, Mandy.
Katie, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
Guys, as always, check us out on usawr.org. Go over to Instagram, hit that follow button on USAWR J Delagrave 14. And if you want to see someone mountain biking and taking lemonade and or taking lemons, making lemonade, put tequila in it, KH Bakes 111. You guys have a great week. We'll be back next week live from training camp next week. So we'll see you guys. Have a great day.